Will your narcissistic parents be good grandparents to your kids? Hi, my name is Tari Lima. I've helped thousands of adult children of narcissistic parents gain psychological independence from them. This is the age-old question, something that I've seen asked over and over again amongst my clients and students. And it also speaks to an old dream many adult children of narcissistic parents still have. The dream that old toxic relationship will finally be replaced by something good, something that will make the family experience be better. And many of us who have narcissistic parents have held on to that hope. The hope that when we have children of our own, something will change. Maybe our parents will be different with their grandchildren. Maybe the purity of a child's love will soften them. Maybe they'll finally be the supportive, loving, present figures we've always dreamt of. But this time, our kids get that version of them. Now, this fantasy is one of the most powerful and understandable ones to have. But we have to talk about the reality behind the fantasy. And the reality is that your parents' personalities probably didn't change. And therefore, they're going to treat your kids in a somewhat similar way that they treated you or your siblings. So the short answer to will my narcissistic parents be good grandparents is no, they won't. And it's not because they're Machiavellic villains necessarily. It's just because they're operating with the same broken internal blueprints for interpersonal relationships. To understand why they can't be different for your kids, you have to understand and accept this one core concept. Narcissism is a filter through which a person interacts with all of reality. It's not a switch they can turn on and off. It's a personality functioning. So your children are not going to be special exceptions to a personality disorder. Your children are simply new characters being fed through the same old filter. And unfortunately, when it comes to pathological narcissism, this filter indicates a few things about other people. They're not individuals with feelings and needs. Other people are sources of narcissistic supply. Narcissists need external validation for their internal world to function. So they need to put someone in the role of being validating, giving attention, fostering a sense of importance for the narcissistic individual. Children will be seen as an extension of that narcissistic grandparent. They're not their own little person. They're a reflection of grandma or grandpa. Their achievements are their grandparents' achievements. If they make any mistakes, it's a personal attack against the grandparent. Children will be used as pawns in a game. They will be useful for triangulation, manipulation, and control over you. Hey, if you found any value in this video, then smash the like button, subscribe, and also download your 10 steps to stop your narcissistic parents' control. You can find the link in the description below. And to be clear, most people who are just narcissistic and not psychopathic aren't fully aware of how their personality is so manipulative because it's second nature to them. They don't need to be consciously calculating manipulation, but it's the only way they've learned to interface with the world. So they don't have any other resources when it comes to your kids. Whatever behavior you saw from them before, you will see them in some form with your kids. They might assign specific roles to different children of yours. One of them might be the golden child, that child that's put on a pedestal, lavished with gifts and favors. Now, this may feel good for the child in the moment, and it may look like love for you as well. But this is not only just going to create a difficult dynamic with the other siblings, but the child will most likely be used as a weapon against you as well. They might put a child or a couple of children in the scapegoat role, which means that yet another child is going to be criticized, devalued, abused, or ignored. And this is for sure the role that many of you that follow this channel have occupied as well. Do you want to see your child going through what you went through? They might put their grandchildren in the therapist role. In this situation, the grandparent uses the child for emotional support, sharing inappropriate adult problems and burdens, creating a special but deeply enmeshed and damaging relationship. They might also create a secret relationship with their child, feeding them distortions about you, or flat out lies, and seducing them with gifts. In all of these situations, your child is not being loved, they're being used. The truth is, the only realistic way of having your narcissistic parent be part of your children's lives is if you have some boundaries around this. Now, mind you, I'm going to be crystal clear here. There's a lot of different levels of dependency and enmeshment when it comes to adult children of narcissists and their parents. So I know some of you have emotional or financial dependency on these parents. So I know that some of you are going to be able to set boundaries more easily than others. As a matter of fact, your ability to set boundaries is deeply connected to your life circumstances right now. So let's just normalize where you might be at. You may be financially dependent on them or dealing with debilitating illness, physical or mental, and you might rely on them for basic support or childcare. The idea of cutting them off seems absolutely impossible. And this is because not only your survival, but your child's care depends on contact. In these situations, your immediate goal might not be no contact, but rather harm reduction and a long-term plan for autonomy. This might mean anything from taking a course so you have better job opportunities, to looking at job listings or maybe going through therapy. You're actively working on your exit strategy, knowing that you have to be super patient during the whole process where this isn't possible for you and your children. You're saving money where possible, building your skills, creating a support system, setting small, firm boundaries where possible. You're in that messy, difficult, and also incredibly brave middle ground. So your goal here is just strategic management as you build the exit plan. Some of you, however, are already financially independent. That's not the issue. The issue is you might be dealing with enormous social pressure. You feel the weight of, oh, but they're family. You're not going to deprive the kids of grandparents, are you? You feel guilty for breaking up the family, like you're a monster of sorts. In this situation, your battle is not for resources, but for emotional sovereignty. Your goal is to give yourself permission to prioritize your child's mental health and safety, and not some old toxic family dynamic. Wherever you are in your life right now, in many situations, it's possible to take some steps to manage the situation, reduce harm, and protect your child. And it's got nothing to do with wishy-washy fantastical thinking about how your parents will suddenly change, and everything to do with protecting yourself and your child. So let's take a look at a few important steps you could take in order to make this possible. Number 1, grieve the grandparent you hoped for. The first and most crucial step is to fully accept that your mother or father, or your husband, wife's mother or father that is on the narcissism spectrum, will not be the grandparent you had hoped for them to be. This grief is important because you can't make lucid, mature decisions about your family if you're in fantasy land. Many of us have an inner child that has been carrying around the burden of not getting family support since they were young. And they might see your children as an opportunity to finally get that family structure. If only your narcissistic parent can fulfill the role of a loving grandparent this time around. But as with all things relating to narcissism, we have to pop the fantasy bubble and be realistic and honest about what we're dealing with. Number 2, supervised visits only, where possible. If contact happens, it might be possible to have it be supervised. This removes their ability to manipulate in private. If fully supervised visits aren't possible, it might be worthwhile to do visits in group settings, where there are other safe people in that environment that your child can also be with. Number 3, it might be possible to have some preemptive communication with your child, so long as it's age appropriate. You can't talk to your kids about some inappropriate behavior that grandma or grandpa has. You can say things like, hey, sometimes grandma is in a bad mood and she says things that are really hurtful. If that ever happens, you can definitely tell me. We don't keep secrets from mom and dad, okay? If boundaries are crossed, you can reinforce them and explain it to your kids. Hey guys, so sometimes grandpa gets grumpy and he does things that are inappropriate and makes people feel bad. That's why we left the family gathering early and we're going to get ourselves some ice cream, okay? I don't want you guys thinking that just because we're family that we can mistreat you. Whilst taking these opportunities to talk about appropriate and inappropriate behavior, you're teaching your children that family doesn't give people the right to overstep all boundaries and be completely abusive and toxic, and that as a matter of fact, no one can do that to them, not even family. And to be honest with you, a lot of my patients that had to navigate this situation finally understood that if they didn't set those boundaries, they were teaching their children to normalize toxicity. And that was an important moment for them to finally find the courage for those boundaries. Number 4, you might have your children meet up with their parents in a controlled setting. So instead of visits to their house, you might want to meet them in a neutral public space like a restaurant or a park. Public settings might inhibit the worst behaviors, and also you have an excuse to leave once the meal or the picnic or whatever is over. Number 5, plan an exit strategy. Know what your line in the sand is and have a plan to enforce it. People who don't have internal boundaries aren't able to recognize or respect your boundaries. So the only language people with these characteristics understand are consequences. Consequences are not about punishment. They're about enforcing boundaries that were ignored. And depending on your parents, you might be able to be pretty direct about these boundaries. Hey, if you criticize my parenting, we're leaving. Also, if you buy that gift when I told you can't give them gifts, we're donating it. And number 6, work together with your spouse if you have one. You need to create a united front with your partner. Discuss boundaries, exit plans, and consequences beforehand. Your partner can be your backup and your reality check. Now, I know this is only possible when both partners acknowledge the narcissism, have popped their own fantasy bubble. If your wife or your husband is enmeshed with their parents and they don't have the strength to create a united front with you, this is going to be an extra challenge. If none of these tactics are possible, for some of you, the only possibility is going to be low contact or no contact. You might have to severely limit the relationship or end it altogether. And this is not failure. This is not you being dramatic. This is not you breaking up the family. This is you stepping up for your parent role in being the adult in the house. For your new family. It takes a lot to say the cycle of abuse stops with me and to actually reinforce that. So I applaud you for even trying it. Take this opportunity to focus on building your chosen family. Invest in relationships with friends, mentors, and other positive adult figures that can provide genuine love and connection for your children. So to summarize some of the main points in this video, people's personality structure doesn't change just because they get a chance to be grandparents now, so have realistic expectations. How many boundaries you can set is closely associated to your life circumstances right now. Let's normalize that, but work towards better boundaries in the long run. You're not breaking your family apart by doing the adult job of protecting your children. This is you stepping up as a true parent. And beware of letting that little inner child of yours that's starved for family go off into la la land and believe that this is her or his chance to finally get that family. So do your children have contact with your narcissistic parent? How does that go for you? How are you managing that? Or have you preferred to go no contact? How are you managing that? Let me know in the comments below. If you thought this video was useful, then you might like this other video as well.